All right, welcome back to Golf Subpar with Colt, Knost, and Drew Stoltz. The third week of the PGA Tour season is in the books. The American Express champion and the Ox, Sepp Straka, put on an absolute clinic out in the desert, winning by 2 over Justin Thomas. Was bogey-free through 69 holes. Made a couple coming in, but he was cruising sleeves and ended up shooting 25 under to win by 2 over JT.
Yeah, the man looked good. His golf swing remains one of the most simple, I think, repeatable on the PGA Tour. His pace of play is spectacular. He's a good guy to like model your game after. It kind of took the drama out of it. I was kind of hoping for a showdown. That closing stretch at Stadium Course is fun. It's a tough place to close out regardless of the lead. But he kind of took away the drama. 2 bogeys coming home, still cruised to a 2-shot victory. And really, like, you know, it was dome golf out there all week, but he won it on the Stadium Course, 10 under on that place over the 2 days, 64 earlier in the week, which he said was one of his best rounds he's ever played. And, I mean, top 20 in the world now, Ryder Cupper, still a guy that I feel like is under the radar, more or less.
Yeah, I'm with you. That Friday round at the Stadium Course where he beat the scoring average by 7. The Stadium was by far playing the hardest of the 3 golf courses. La Quinta and Nicklaus Tournament were playing just over 68 shots for the field. Stadium Course, 71.3 or 4, I believe.
Had a little more bite with the new greens this year.
And all the players talking about, I mean, greens were much firmer on the Stadium Course. Little humps and bumps they added here caused some players some trouble. No one had more trouble than William Mao, who made a little 13 on the 16th. We've seen that crazy deep bunker. It's around 20 feet deep. We've seen guys have some trouble with it. Our man Johnson Wagner showed how to play.
It's easy.
You just skull shank it into the hill, and it bounces up and goes to like 7 feet.
You got to watch live from leading up to the tournament, dude. Johnson shows you the way.
But William Mao, man, I felt bad for him. He handled it beautifully. He was going along really nice, was 2 under on his round, makes a 13 with no penalty strokes there, heads over to Alcatraz, number 17, follows it up with a triple bogey 6. So just 19 shots in 2 holes.
Quick 11 over through 2.
God.
Hey, props to him, by the way. Finished the week at even par. It would have been easy to just lay down and die and be like, well, this sucks. It's
and the cut was 9 under. I mean, it's like,
minus those 2 holes, which, you know, they still count. That would have been a hell of a good week. I mean, he was just cruising around, but you don't see the old 13 piece from greenside, no penalty strokes too often. It was a mess, a complete mess. Another weird deal. Ben Griffin, 3rd hole, 195 yards to the hole, 7-iron, 6-iron at most. Straight top/knife into one of the mounds, went 76 yards, and then walks up there and holds it from 119. Weird game we play, but
normal birdie.
Yeah, just a 3 on the card.
Just laying it up to 195 is not a good number.
If you were following at home on Shot Track, you're like, oh no, they messed it up. They messed up. He didn't hit it 76 from 195, but he did.
Yep.
And without a 3-wood. 3-wood.
By the way, that guy's sneaky good. He has a lot of good finishes.
He was in 10th when he did it too, and went on to play. I think he top 10.
After he held it, he went to 8th.
Yeah. Well done. Well done by him.
What are your thoughts on Justin Thomas real quick? Coming off 2nd place finish there, runner-up, played really nice. Good to see him back in form.
Yeah, he looks really good. Tee to green. I mean, the front 9 he came out on Sunday, it looked like he might play a factor in trying to catch Sepp. Shot 31, he had a miss like 5-footer, I believe, on the 7th, and the back 9 hit it good too. Just kind of putts didn't go. They weren't necessarily bad putts, just like misread or the speed was a little bit off. But I mean, I'm extremely optimistic on JT's year. I just think things have kind of settled down, caddy, swing, all the stuff, and I think he's going to play some damn good golf this year. He played really good this week. Sepp just kind of went out and took it, but I thought he looked really good. Tee to green, he was like vintage old JT.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Justin this year. I think he's going to have a really big year. The new dad, shout out Molly Grace. She's out on the road traveling.
Yes.
And also, I believe the only thing I will nitpick with Justin Thomas, he became a dad. Now looks like he's rocking the Air Dads out there on the course. Those shoes, JT, so I got a question mark.
Those were a new look. Those were the all white with the khakis. Just like, this is the signal I've given up on caring. I know it, dude. I got pretty much my everyday outfit is that. Like, who cares? As long as I'm clothed.
I know what they are. They're the FootJoy Hyperflex. I was talking to some people. I was like, they're now the Hyper Dads.
Yeah, those are straight out the dad camp right there.
But keep up the great play, JT. We're rooting for you. Over on the DP World Tour, one of the best characters in the game of golf, Tyrrell Hatton, plays over on Live with John Rahm on Legion 13. Picked up his 5th Rolex Series win down in Dubai. 7-foot par putt on the last to go along with a destroyed tee marker, among other things.
Standard.
But once again, showing he's one of the best players in the world. Left the PGA Tour for Live, was 16th in the world, Tough to make world ranking points because you only get a few events a year. He's moved up to 9th. Really impressive stuff, man. I love this guy. He's going to be on that team for Europe, heading up to Bethpage. I cannot wait to hear some of the interactions with the fans at Bethpage with them and Terrell Hatton.
He's going to love it.
God,
he is going to love it up there. Maybe the only guy, one of, if not the only guy, I think, to move up in the world golf rankings since going to live. It feels like every DP World Tour event he plays, especially in like recently, he's on the front page of the leaderboard. Now he's contending. Now he's winning. I think he's is he number 1 now on the European Ryder Cup?
Yeah.
Like what she said, like, look, this tournament specifically, he highlighted it, won it. And the 4 majors, like, I got to go play because I need to be an automatic pick for that Ryder Cup team. And it's looking good.
I can tell you this. No matter what, he's going to be on that team.
I would have to assume.
And he's played in 7 events since the points have started accumulating for the Ryder Cup. He had finished T18 in the first one. Since then, all top 10s with 2 wins.
Yeah, it's every week, every single week out there. Props to him. Getting the top 10 in the world's hard at anything, especially when you don't play that many events with points.
And Rory McIlroy was looking for a third straight win over there. Goes out, finishes 4th. Again, I mean, it's like the guy just top 5s every tournament.
Yeah, it came backdoor top 5. Wins that thing a lot. Just feels like continuing on from last year.
Yep.
Play good golf, just not good enough. But one last thing, which deserves a little attention, going back to the Amex. I mentioned Sepp Straka, pace of play is nice. You know, it's not nice. Everyone else on the PGA Tour.
Everyone else.
It's a joke. It's not everyone, but you get my point. 5 hours, 39 minutes to go play in dome conditions, 0 wind, minimal rough. Greens aren't that tricky compared to some of the stuff they'll see on the PGA Tour. 5 hours, 39 minutes to get that thing done. They almost played took them an hour more to play 2 NFL football games than it did for those guys to play 18 at the stadium course. And guess what happened? Nothing. Nothing.
I think you went through that a little fast. We're talking about something slow, but you went through it pretty fast. Go through that again. They played 2 football games, 2 NFL playoff
games, like more commercials
with a lot of commercials and stuff in 1 hour longer than it took the final group to play the final round at the Amex. 5 hours and 39 minutes. It's a joke. It's got to change. People all over social media are just bitching and moaning, which I understand. They're like, we don't even get to see the entire final round. They don't even imagine going to turning on a football game and the broadcast starts in the second quarter. Well, look, you can't
have
pay
8
all
hours
these
of
people.
coverage.
You can't pay all these people 5 hours and 40 minutes to sit there and call golf. It's ridiculous. It's got to change. The tour's got to do something about it. I mean, what's the number one complaint you hear from fans?
It's the only thing all golf fans agree on in the world, that they all come together. And it's the Venn diagram. It's right in the middle.
Yeah.
Speed the shit up.
Yeah. So let's do it. Let's make a change. Something's got, Jay Monahan, come on, man. I know you're listening. You got to pick this thing up. Somebody's got to be the example. Okay. You got to take a top player.
And it's got to be a real dude. It can't be some guy missing the cut.
Yeah. Someone that is slow. And listen, there is a rule, but once again, in TGL, everybody is like, oh my God, this shot clock is amazing. 40 seconds is amazing. Sleaze, what's the rule on the PGA Tour? How long you have to play a shot?
45.
It's 40.
40.
Yeah. So
45, give or take.
That's
depending on when you start the clock.
Just fucking enforce it.
Yeah. I don't know how loud the outrage needs to be, how bad the pace of play needs to get before they finally come together. It seems like PGA Tour hadn't made a habit of making great decisions of late, but get in a room. Here's the one thing, like, boys, it's time.
Yeah.
This is an awful product. I mean, we had a guy on radio call us this morning. He's like, dude, I tried to watch yesterday. Couldn't. It's so slow. It's a death march. I'm out. Call me when the majors start. And he ain't the only guy. There's a lot of people like that. In a world where they're trying to base everything around fans and they're limiting field sizes for, they say, speeding up pace of play. It's like, dude, here's an easy fix to actually do something about this problem. And they continue to do nothing.
They had a running clock on the coverage on Golf Channel of how long Charlie Hoffman, Jason Day, and Sepp Straka were standing on the 11th tee.
It's a joke. And
71 guys made the cut.
There you go. So these limited fields, it doesn't matter. It's slow players that are out there. It's mind-blowing how bad this thing can get. And that is the most mundane conditions in terms of like calculating a shot, things you have to consider. It's like, oh, it's 150. Well, out there, fly at 149 with those greens. Like no wind, no nothing. And it's 540. Like, do something. Fix it.
Yeah, it's got to change, or else we're going to continue to lose fans. I mean, unless you're a diehard, you ain't buckling in and sitting there and watching 5.5 hours of golf, going from ESPN Plus over to Golf Channel or CBS or NBC. It sucks, man. It's unfortunate. Something's got to change. We got to get this thing going, start enforcing the rules, and make it enjoyable for everybody to watch.
That's our old man yelling at the clouds. segment for the day. Let's go to last thing. A young man made his tour debut this week. Got a lot of pub. 17-year-old Blades Brown ended up missing the cut by a few. Got off to a slow start and had a brutal finish. 5 over on his last 11, I believe, the final round or his third round to miss the cut by 3. But sandwiched in between that, 10 birdies, 64 in round 2. What'd you make of the young man's performance, who, by the way, upcoming guest on
Yeah,
Subpar?
I'm excited to have him. Like, listen, I've been asked my opinion on him turning pro at 17 years old. I'm against it. I mean, I've talked to parents. I've talked to young kids who are thinking about going this route. And my just one thing is, look, Tiger Woods went to college. Jack Nicklaus went to college. The 2 greatest ever, and there's no argument, all went to college. In the day of NIL, where these kids are making a lot of money, staying amateur and going to college, and with PGA Tour U, I was surprised by the decision of Blades Brown. He's obviously got a ton of talent, shooting 64 on the PGA Tour. Oh, I know it was the Nick tournament course, but still, to go out there and make 10 birdies, special stuff. He's got all the talent in the world. I just think he rushed it a little bit, but I'm interested to see what he does the rest of the year. I don't understand what the rush was.
He's going to get some shots. He's going to get some sponsors exemptions, and we'll see how it goes. Like, to me, I don't know if there's like a right or wrong. I think you give up, you sacrifice what I would say is one of the greatest times of your life. That's college. But on the other flip side of that, like, you're going to get to do a lot of cool shit that you wouldn't have gotten to do, if you went to school. But especially with the NIL, I felt you'd see this less and less with big name amateur junior kids coming out because of NIL, because they can sign a deal with club companies or whoever they want and make some money as they get better in college. But you named off a few guys that went to college, like Rory McIlroy. He's done okay. There's examples. Akshay's turned into a hell of a good player. It takes a little. Yeah, if you're gonna expect like him to go contend and win PGA Tour events like right off the jump, coming out and getting sponsors exemptions, I don't think that's realistic. Kid's 17 years old, but give him a little runway here, and we'll see. He's a mature kid. Golf game's good, and I don't know if there's right or wrong. It's just personal decision, and he's gonna get cracks at it this year.
Look, I just think, for the guys overseas, it's much different. Like, I mean, Rory was possibly going to go to college, I believe, at East Tennessee State. A lot of Australians.
They would have been good with him.
Yeah, they'd have been pretty good. Mm-hmm. By the way, if he would have gone to East Tennessee State, every other top golf program in the world would be like, hey, coaches, where were y'all at on that one?
They used to have like the monopoly on the Europeans. Yeah. Their whole squad was good.
But for Americans, I just think with how important college is and NIL and just, by the way, getting out on your own for a little bit, getting away from the parents, learning to grow up a little bit and be on your own. I think it's a huge step, and I was a little surprised by it, but hey, we'll wait and see what happens. Rory McIlroy was in contention at a major championship right before he turned pro.
He came out, was pretty good, pretty quick, but I'm a huge Blades Brown fan. We got to play him in the 4-ball. Selfishly, I love it. Means can't play in the 4-ball anymore. That's one less team to work on, but he's the nicest kid you'll ever meet. He's going to be an upcoming guest on the show, and it's fun to keep track of. That's a lot for a 17-year-old kid. He had a lot of eyeballs on him. And I mean, just maybe a little inexperience, a little nerves, or else he would have been playing the weekend first crack.
He's got a lot of game, no doubt, but he's 17 years old. We'll see what happens. But all the talk lately been about TGL, simulator golf, and our friends over at Golf Zone have been doing it for years. Over in Korea, they've been doing this for over 12 years. They have tournaments, Golf Zone Tour. They've had players go on to win the KPGA and Asian Tour tournaments. This is awesome. They have chose 12 of the best facilities and are sending teams from those facilities down to Orlando. They're flying them in for the final match, which will be held at the PGA Show booth. Winning team takes home a $150,000 purse. The final match will be played on virtual Bay Hill map and on the new NX simulator they're debuting at the PGA Show. People can keep up on the tabs by following Golf Zone America on social media. So go check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Simulator golf taking over the world.
150,000. That's a car. Might want to hold on to that one.
What kind of car?
Dumb and Dumber, dude. But it's 375,000. But this is 150,000, which is also still a car. Possibly multiple cars.
AJ Brown showed up in a Honda Civic.
Respect
to the Philadelphia Eagles game.
By the way.
$30K. He has 5 of those.
A Honda Accord, $100 million receiver, Honda Accord.
Love that.
Good
all
man.
Right. Well, let's get to our guest this week. We love the hockey guys. It all started with Mike Commodore for us. He's freaking hilarious. Well, we got a little different version of Mike Commodore. This guy is an absolute beauty, as we like to say on this show. Played in the NHL for 8 years, transferred over to the TV world, and is just killing it. Tyson Nash joins us on Golf Subpar.
All right, folks, it is time to welcome on an 8-year NHL veteran, one of the great personalities, I would say, in the game, one of the most stylish dressers, as evidenced today, and current, we'll call it Swiss Army knife for the Utah Hockey Club. Tyson Nash is in the house. T. Nash.
Boys.
Pleasure to have you, buddy.
Who canceled is what I want to know. This is like golfing, right? You get the late tea time offer. It's like, hey, I'm like, when are you playing? Next week? No, we're playing in an hour. I'm like, oh, yeah, you bastards.
7 people bailed, and here you are.
Yeah.
No, we've been waiting on this one.
Yeah, you figured us out.
Yeah, happy to be
let's
here.
talk a little bit about the Utah Hockey Club. The hoodie, fantastic, by the way.
This whole thing?
Love the colors.
This whole thing, yeah.
How's it going up there in Utah?
It's good. It's good. Yeah, it's popping, boys. Shoes,
The shoes match.
shoes to match. We don't mess around in Utah. We don't mess around. You know what? It's been a ton of fun, right? To be a part of something from the ground up. I was kind of part of that here in Arizona. Still super sad, obviously, that we lost our team here in Phoenix. But I think when you look at it, like Utah deserves a team. They're a hockey climate, hockey market. It's absolutely exploded. It's been better than I think anything the NHL could have ever expected. And when you have two owners like Ryan Smith, who I know you know, Ashley, his wife, they are pulling out all the stops. Absolutely first class. The swag bags we get, how they treat us as employees, how they treat the players. The players are, I mean, they're sitting there going, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Like, they're like, are you kidding me? Look at this locker room. And it is. It's state of the art. But I'm like, boys, this is also what the National Hockey League is all about.
It's supposed to be.
Right?
Yeah, what it
it's
should
not
be.
the mullet, right?
Yeah.
It's legitimate. That's the National Hockey League. And Ryan and Ashley have made sure that they have done it absolutely first class. And I'm a small part of it and happy to be.
That's so cool, man. I've been telling Ryan I want to get up for a game. I just don't want those one seats where you can't see the goal.
Those are tough.
Tough situation there.
Those are tough. The players disappear. You got to just go with the flow, but they're going to fix it.
Yeah.
He's putting in a ton of dough to make sure that I don't know how they're going to fix it. That's over my pay grade, but when it gets done, it's going to be special.
Good news is he can afford it.
They won't lack for anything up there, if I had to guess. Let me ask you this in terms of your pull. I introduced you as a Swiss Army knife. We'll get to your role here in a second, but what kind of pull do you have in terms of making them the Utah Yetis, which I feel like was the biggest layup, sweetest mascot possible?
Yeah.
Is that still on the table? I mean, dude,
it has to be on the table.
sweaters,
I
the
mean, all
gear
of it.
could be all time.
All like what is it? A snowman? Like a
Yeah, dude, it's like a maybe
the coolest thing ever.
fictional character,
Yeah.
maybe a realistic little, like cold weather creature.
Here's where I feel really good that obviously they're geniuses, right? In marketing, fan engagement, all that stuff. That's where he's made his dough, right? So I think we're in pretty good hands. As far as what comes next, my understanding is there's a ton of red tape with everything that they're looking at, all the names. But it's also genius, right? Because we're all wearing this. Everyone's buying it. You can't even find it, right? So now they're going to add a name to it next year. Now you're gonna have to rebuy it all
the
right?
shit.
So it's all the jerseys, all the swag.
Just don't change the colors.
No,
the colors are so sick.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of those.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, that's going to be nice. I got a good feeling they're going to migrate that way to the Yetis, which will go down as
nice
one
little sponsorship too. That Yeti company's pretty big.
Yeah, not so bad. Not so bad.
Wouldn't be bad to get
But you
involved
guys
with.
got to come down. It is crazy. Like this atmosphere. Like I've been to every obviously rink, played as a fan, as a broadcaster. This place is off the charts. It really is. And Salt Lake itself, the town. I always wondered, why is everyone smiling around here all the time? But like when you look around and you look at the mountains, now they're skiing. I'm up in Park City when on days off. I'm like, are you kidding me? And we got a hockey team here.
And
It's
all the people are beautiful there, dude. It's like the most
Healthy,
beautiful. They're all in shape and good. They all look like little models. I'm
I don't
like,
think I'll fit in.
It's a gnarly. Like I'm like, God damn,
it's dangerous.
Wild
It's a
up here.
dangerous town. Dangerous town, but having fun.
Let's go back to your early days, because obviously growing up in Canada,
Yep.
I mean, for us, like golf, I mean, we all looked up and idolized Tiger Woods. For y'all, you have the great one.
Right.
Wayne Gretzky. Tell us about your start in hockey and the first time you ever got to meet Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, man. I grew up in Edmonton, small town outside Edmonton called Sherwood Park. I think you had Ray Whitney on there. We're like 5 minutes from each other.
Okay.
Like trailer park stuff, right? Like just...
What are the odds of that?
I know. But that's Canada. Like everything we do, it's cold, 11 months of the year out there. So you got outdoor rinks and you have no choice but to get out and exercise and be a part of it. There's no cell phones, there's no nothing. So that's kind of how it started for me at a young age. You're out there with your buddies. And I can tell you, hockey has given me a lot like golf for you guys, given me everything in my life, right? Mm-hmm. But you don't start out at 5 years old thinking that. You just start out because you love it, right? It's a game. And the fact that I was able to make some sort of living at it, is just extra special. But I grew up watching the Edmonton Oilers, Wayne Gretzky at that time. I mean, this was a heater, right? I mean, they win 4 cups when I was a kid? Mm-hmm. I mean, 4 Stanley Cup parades. They got Wayne Gretzky, the best player to ever lace them up. Mark Messier, one of the best power forwards to ever play the game. Glenn Anderson, Yari Curry, Kevin Lowe, Paul Coffey. I mean, it was like endless. So if you were a player, you could find your guy, right? And my guy, I wanted Wayne Gretzky, but who's going to emulate him, right? So I found a guy, Esa Tikkanen, little rat, but like, like just runs his mouth. He's a Finnish guy. You didn't even know what he was saying out there, but he was just running his mouth constantly every game. And when you go to a game, you're like, hey, who could I play like? Like, who kind of emulates me, right? And that was kind of my guy. Kenny Linsman, another guy. His name was literally the Rat, they used to call him. That was his nickname. So that's kind of where I fell in love with it. I met a bunch of them over the years. I did a commercial with Dave Semenko, who was one of the toughest guys to ever play, and Kevin Lowe when I was a young kid. I think it was like 7 years old. So that's kind of where I fell in love with the game. I had Wayne Gretzky wallpaper, bed sheets growing up. And then you asked when I met Wayne. I met him, at autograph signings as a kid, but the first time I ever met him was actually on the telephone when he called me when I was with the St. Louis Blues. And he was the guy that was like, hey, Tyson, it's Wayne Gretzky. I was like, yeah, good one. I'm like, which one of my idiot buddies is this? And I'm like, yeah. And I hung up.
Oh, my God.
He calls me back. He goes, no, don't hang up. He goes, seriously, it's Wayne Gretzky. And it was draft day. And he goes, we just made a trade and we traded for you. And I'm part of ownership. And I am so excited to welcome you to the Phoenix Coyotes at the time. I'm like, oh my God. I was going crazy. Like, first of all, it was Wayne Gretzky. Yeah. Second of all, not a bad city to go to from St. Louis, right? So that's how I found out.
That's the first time you spoke to Wayne? Was that phone call and you hung up on him the first time?
I hung up on him. Oh, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It didn't end so great with Wayne. I think I was there like 3 or 4 years. He ended up being our coach. And he ended up letting me go, right? Like ending my NHL career. And he just said, we're going to go in a different direction. I'll never forget being called into his office. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, like, what is this meeting about? This is kind of weird. Like, this can't be good. Big mahogany desk. And I sit down and he's like, I think he was as upset as I ended up being. I was literally crying on his desk. I'm like, oh my God, you're sending me down to the minors? Like, are you kidding me? I played like 8 years in the NHL and this is it? This is how it ends? And it ends with Wayne Gretzky
with the
telling me to basically beat it. So we laugh about it now up in Idaho. And he's like, dude, it was time. Like, you were hurt all the time. I don't think you won a fight that year. Like, it was time. And he also was like, but I'm going to take care of you. And take care of me. He did. He's gotten me and let me be a broadcaster with the team, traveling around with Gretz. I mean, it was incredible. Like, as hard as it was for my career to end, it was incredible because I'm still hanging out with Wayne Gretzky. I'm riding on the plane, and every game, every city that we got to was mandatory. You landed, and this is why he was the best captain and the best teammate ever, because we land and he made it mandatory. Everyone except the players had to come down and have a drink at the bar and sit and talk. And like, that's how you build a bond, right? Yeah. And he did it his entire career and he did it with us as broadcasters. And he paid.
I love that.
Yeah. He can afford it too.
Yeah. Yes, he can.
Yeah, he's doing just fine. Yeah. So that was the end, which kind of like Wayne at the front end, and the back end. Talk to me through, because I know you had a monster junior career with the Memorial Cups up there, which is like, I guess, the national championship, right, for junior hockey?
Yeah.
Up there, and then leading into that to the NHL.
Yeah. So I played on, it was kind of like the junior like the Edmonton Oilers of junior hockey, right? Like I was there 4 years. I ended up winning 3 Memorial Cups, which now that my kid played in the league, he's like, holy cow, Dad, I can't believe you won 1, let alone 3.
One of only 3 people ever.
Right, in 4 years. Yeah. So like, and it's hard to do because there's so much changeover, right? Every year with players and, you know, aging out and moving on to other teams. So again, I was super blessed to be a part of that organization, the Kamloops Blazers, a great place to grow up. I moved there when I was 15.
Where is that exactly?
So it's just, it's 3 hours north of Vancouver.
Kamloops.
Yeah, Kamloops. Oh, yeah. Beautiful place. It stunk like a paper mill, right? It had the big paper mill that employed everybody, but hardworking blue collar people that just loved hockey. And I was a young kid living out my dream. That's where I ended up getting drafted. I think I was pretty much the last draft pick. I think it was like 200 and I don't know what it was. They don't even have that number anymore. It's gone. But I drafted by the Vancouver Canucks, which was also super cool, being a BC team just up the road. And that's where my career kind of started.
And then obviously you mentioned play 8 years. End up going over to Japan for a year, which we'll get to that incredible organization you're with over there in Japan. But then you roll it over into a TV career.
Yeah.
At any point, because like we talk about this all the time, like no point during my golf career did I ever think, hey, I'm going to do TV one day.
Yeah.
Did you ever think maybe you'd get into it?
You know what? I was with a buddy yesterday. I think that's how I ended up on the show here, right? Mm-hmm. Johnny. And we were crushing a handle of Crown like we usually do, right? Watching some football. And we were like, I just got him to kind of explain like your career, and I think they're very similar, right? Like how we kind of had a lot of success early, and then we moved on, and had great careers, and obviously didn't last as long as some people do, but we both got into TV afterwards. And for me, I was always a personality, right? I didn't mind the camera, I didn't mind doing interviews, win or lose. I was just kind of a loudmouth clown in the locker room. And I always had fun. So, but I didn't know that that's what I was going to end up doing. It wasn't something I was super passionate about or knew a lot about even. But when my career ended, I had an opportunity. Our president at the time, Doug Moss, was like, hey, I know you can probably go on and play. I think had a tryout with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I was, but I'm like, oh God, do I really want to drag my family all the way from Phoenix to Tampa and maybe in the minors and have to prove myself all over again? So he offered me the radio job, got a face for it. So I figured, all right, I'll try this out. Yeah. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Once I realized that my career was over, right? Because you're sitting there going, look at these clowns. I could still play. I could beat that guy up. I could do this. Probably like in golf, right? You're like, are you kidding me? Like, I can play better than these guys. What am I doing? Why am I on the other side of the line, right? Mm-hmm. So once I got over that, just fell back in love with it. And then once I started doing TV, it was what I was built for. I felt like I just loved the passion, and you get that same intensity. Like you're standing on the blue line again, listening to the national anthem, and the lights come on, the TV, and you're going live. You're dressed up, and you're talking hockey. I'm not getting beat up anymore. I'm talking about hockey for a living. It's a pretty great gig.
It's a good spot to land. Go back to your playing days just for a minute, because you touched on it earlier, but you were described as a quote unquote pest. Give us the definition in your mind of a pest, and did you like that label?
I did, just because I spent so long in the American Hockey League, which is the minors, right? And you're making no dough. I think I was making 30,000 Canadian living in Syracuse, New York.
Which was like 15 US.
Yeah, the exchange rate was like $1.60 or something. Yeah. Like I'm taking home no money. I'm working at Pizza Hut in the off season, right? Delivering pizzas to pay for my training and pay for, like, I'm a pro. I'm supposed to be a pro. And I'm like, yeah, this is great, right? I can't believe my wife's still stuck around, following me around. But, that's kind of where it started for me. And I rode that bus. I got beat up every night. You're getting in fights. You're still grinding like you are in the NHL, but you're making no money. So when the coach in the NHL, the National Hockey League, Joel Quenneville, came to me and said, okay, we got enough good players. We don't need you. Like, and I was playing power play. I was scoring 20 goals a year. Like I was putting up pretty good offensive numbers, but he's like, we don't need another offensive guy. We need a guy who can play physical, can hit, can fight, can yap. And they had some of the I think we had like 5 Hall of Famers on our team in St. Louis. So he goes, I just want you to be a rat. I want you to be the most hated player in the entire league. If you can do that, you have a job here for as long as you do that. Otherwise, you're back on the bus eating soggy subs and drinking beers. And I was like, done.
Yeah.
And I literally, for 4 or 5 years, was the most hated human being on the face of the earth. And the hard part for me, did I like it? No, I didn't like it because it wasn't my personality. Like, I'm not that kind of guy, right? I mean, you know me a little bit. Like, I'm fun. You know, I love to chirp and joke around, but I'm not mean. But when I got on the ice, I was freaking mean. Like, I was dirty. I would go after your grandma. I would go after your wife, your girlfriend, your ex-girlfriend. It didn't freaking matter. I was getting in your grill and I was getting in your head. And by the end of the night, it was so hard because I wasn't that tough, but everyone wanted to freaking kill me. And that was hard because I was scared to death every freaking game. I was like, oh my God, who's going to freaking kill me tonight? Remember what I did last game? Yeah. It's coming tonight.
Who do you think hated you the most?
Oh God. There was a lot of guys. Sean Avery, we hated.
I told him this morning. We were talking about a pest. And I was like, one of the first guys I learned about that was when I was in Dallas was Sean Avery,
right?
And how I remember he came and played a preseason game in Dallas when we were there, and the entire team fought him, I think.
Right. His own team, too.
Yeah. I mean, everybody hated you kind of wanted him on your team because he pissed everyone else off, but my God, did they hate him.
Yeah. And they kind of hated him on his own team. That's where I kind of it was a little bit different for me. I was a likable guy for the most part. But it's a tough thing to do, right? Like, especially when you're not tough, like, you know that someone's going to get you eventually. And they did, hence the nose. This is the big. This is well earned. Oh yeah, that's not a joint in it. It's not an elbow, but it was a grind every night. And you know, I had guys obviously to help me out. Kelly Chase, Tony Twist, Reed Lowe. I played with some of the toughest guys ever, and they actually thanked me because they were like, now I don't have to go out and just stage a fight, right? Yeah. I don't have to go out and just challenge a guy and fight a guy for no reason. Now I'm pissed because they've been punching the shit out of your face all night long. Yeah. Now I can go beat their ass, right? And but I had diplomatic plates with those guys also. I could do and say whatever I wanted. Nice. Oh yeah, that's a luxury.
That's nice. And it's great how there's like a role for that. Like guys, like we don't need you to score. I don't need you. I just need you to piss off every single person. Like that's a role, and that's a valuable role.
And I got paid well for it,
which is wild because any other sports, like hey, like if there's one fight, it's like multiple game suspension. But in hockey, it's like we need one. Right. We need one right now.
And imagine like there's such a means to the madness, right? Like people are like this fighting in hockey, but there's such a purpose for all of it. Like imagine if you could go around the golf course chirping guys.
And fighting?
Like while they're teeing off, you're like, jackass, while they're swinging. It's like the advantage you would have, right? And we're allowed to do that. In fact, it's encouraged, right? So you get people off their game that they're so worried about killing me that they're not worried about scoring goals, right? Like I'd have my stick in Stevie Eiserman's glove and like whacking him on the back of the legs. And he'd be like, where is that prick? I'm going to freaking and he'd take a dumb penalty against me and we'd score on the power play. And I'd be like, hey,
earn that check.
Stevie. Oh yeah.
Who would you say in today's NHL kind of reminds you? Yeah, who's a pest?
Oh, I would say probably the Kachucks.
Okay.
But I mean, talk about unreal players, right? I mean, and that was kind of why my career also ended, is because I didn't really evolve enough as a player, right? I went from a skill guy in the American League in the minors to just a guy who playing 8-10 minutes a night, running around, friggin' causing shit out there. And I kind of lost my game a little bit, my touch on the puck and all the things you need in the league. But I would say probably Matthew Tkachuk is probably.
What about? I know he's like very good and he scores, but I feel like another guy that gets in a lot of people's kitchens is like Brad Marchand.
Oh yeah,
I mean people just want to punch him.
Yeah, and he's got a punchable face, right? You just want to fold that nose right over. Actually, it'd probably end up on the back of his head like mine. But yeah, we were similar mouthpieces. He's probably a better example of that, but again, he can play too.
Yeah, he can score too.
90, 100 points a year this guy gets on top of doing all that.
Hockey's my favorite, man. I love it so much.
It honestly is the best.
Yeah.
8 seasons you played. Do you know how many penalty minutes you accumulated? I have it right here, in fact. Courtesy of the internet.
I don't know.
Want to venture a guess? 673 minutes, with your best year being 99-2000. You placed top 20 in penalty minutes with 150.
Wow.
It's well done.
Yeah. Big mouth.
That's nice.
Big mouth. Oh yeah.
Big year.
That was closed many a nights.
You get put more in the penalty box when you played or at home now?
Yeah, well, you know how that goes. Yeah. A little bit of both. I can still get pretty mouthy at home for sure. But yeah, it was well earned. But that was like a badge of honor too, right? When you had
for
penalty
your
minutes.
role, right? That's like kind of expected. I would
And
think.
over 100 penalty minutes. I mean, that is a respectable number. I mean, I didn't take a lot of dumb penalties. Those were either fighting majors or, coincidentals. I was taking another guy with me, but it was fun. I miss those days.
Another guy that's done awful well since hanging him up in the TV world, Biz Nasty, Paul Bissonnette, who we've had on this show.
Have you?
Yeah, we had him on many moons ago. He was very early on.
Yeah.
And one of our guys out here actually said he filmed a sandbagging episode with you.
Yes. Poor guy watching and witnessing that. You've seen it before.
You and Biz having to chase y'all's golf balls around. That had to have been special. But tell us a little bit about your relationship with Biz. I actually watched an interview way back in the day when he was still playing. And you were doing it right before the season started. And he was still running around LA having a good old time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we traveled together on the road, too, because he was doing radio, I was doing TV. And so I'm glad that ended because he's a dangerous man. But he's just he's what you see is what you get, right? He's just not a care in the world. He's like the Howard Stern of hockey and broadcasting. I mean, some of the stories he tells, I tell those stories, I'm fired, but it seems to work just fine with Biss, and he gets more popular with everything he does. I just think he's all about entertainment, right? He's what the people want to see. This guy is like, I hung out with Wayne Gretzky a lot, but now like I hang out with Biss. It is absolutely nuts. The kids, the girls, the women, all like the grandmas, the moms, the hockey dads, everyone absolutely worships and loves this guy. He walks into a room or a bar or a restaurant, everyone's like, oh my God. Like you might as well just say, okay, Biss, go over there and talk to those people.
And especially around here.
And now with the incident that happened recently down the road, I mean, he's gotten so much pub for this.
Oh, what incident? I said
he was just on Inside the NBA talking about all that with Barkley and them. He's gotten so much run out of this. It's just for him.
Everything
by the way.
he does makes him more popular, good or bad, right? Like, and good for him. I'm just happy he's okay. First and foremost. I mean, that was a scary.
Oh God,
he sat me down and we went through the whole situation. I actually had him on my show right after it happened, and his face was still mangled up. I mean, he takes a bad kick to the head, and he's still laying there.
Did you see the video? I mean, he took some shots.
I've seen it all, and I know like he's given Houston's a lot of credit, but I'm like, where was the manager and the guys from Houston's coming out to help him,
or anybody else,
or anybody else, help this guy out. Like
6-on-1.
He literally
Did you see what he said to Barkley on Inside the
I
NBA on TNT? He's like, yeah, I didn't know Charles was there having dinner, but he wouldn't step away from his artichoke dip to come help me. Charles was first off, I ain't artichoke dip.
That's way too healthy.
Those two, by the way, that's like. Charles can say anything. And get away with it.
Yeah.
Now Biz is the hockey version of this.
He is.
Great.
And we need it. I think it's so good for our game. And obviously he's an awesome dude. But he's really figured out what's working. And we need to grow our game because to your point, I mean, you're a huge hockey fan, but we need to turn everyone else into it and show them how good this game is and the people in it. That's the best part of it at all. I get so frustrated when I interview players. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but I'm like, can you show a little personality? I know you're unreal dudes. Like I know, because I'm in the locker room with you guys. I know you're great. Just show it. It's your brand.
You're 100% right.
Do you think some of that, because we run into the same thing. Some guys are great. They're electric like you. The personality boom pops. Some I'm like, dude, I know you. Like be like you are
like
when there's not a camera on. But
But
do you think some of it is that they're scared of like saying, all right, I want to be fun. I want to tell a story and like saying one wrong thing because the way it's been, and it's kind of coming off that, but like you can get canceled, like sponsorships, things like that. Like it's like the juice not worth the squeeze. I could try to be real likable, but if I slip up one time and say something dumb, it's going to cost me.
Yeah. And I think especially early on, like when I was finishing up and my early years of broadcasting, it's like Twitter just kind of came out, right? So players were like on it kind of, but like quiet about it. And managers and coaches were like, like watching their Twitter accounts and like, hey, don't be too popular. Don't think you're too great or don't this and that, right? Like it was almost like, it was like a shot against you if you had social media, right? Now it's completely flipped. And now they're trying to encourage it and trying to, promote yourself, promote the team, promote your teammates. So it's completely flipped. It's so funny. All of it's flipped, right? Like the whole world. Like, remember we couldn't gamble on stuff?
Oh my God.
Now every segment's brought to you by.
I remember Rick Tocchet was our coach. He got suspended. He was gone. He got fired. Like he almost went to jail. And he wasn't gambling on hockey. He was gambling on football. And I'm like, now it's all we talk about. Smoke weed, do this, gamble on this, gamble on that. But even Kurt Warner was on a gambling commercial. Like I know Kurt from St. Louis. He coached my son in football. And he's talking about gambling. But he's like, but if you got a problem, call this number.
Text this number.
Oh my God.
It.
I'm like, what's going on with our world? But so.
It's wild. You mentioned just trying to get more people to love hockey. Tony Finau, who is a big Utah guy. I played with him the other day. He's been to a couple of games this year. He goes, man, I'd never been to a hockey game. It's my favorite live sport there is. Yeah. He's obsessed now.
Yeah. And he's down. Ryan has him down on the glass.
Oh, of course.
Right? Which is so funny to me because the glass seats are the worst seats in the whole building.
If you want to see the whole thing.
Right. Like if you actually know about hockey, you're like, get me out of here. What am I doing? Like I can't see anything. But they love it down there. Ryan loves it. It's the action, the fights, I think there was a big fight too that broke out right in front of him the one game that I saw him there.
I took Gary Woodland to his first ever NHL game, and it was the Stars against the Penguins. It was 7-5. The Stars won, and there were 7 fights. Sidney Crosby fought, and he's like, "This is the greatest thing ever." I'm like, "This does not happen every night." Okay, just so you know.
Yeah, and I wish every sport had it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine basketball? Those 7-footers going to center court and going, "Let's go." I'm sick of you, picking on our skill player or whatever, and then. You figure out who's tough, right?
Let them go for a little bit.
Let's see how tough you are with that big mouth when you actually got to eat a punch or two.
Yeah, they all get the chirp, and then people get in between them, and they act up, and nothing ever happens in hockey. Like you actually, okay, you ready? Let's go. And like tripping, reach out, and there's a mix up, and you trip somebody. Like that's a suspension.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? And I'm like, in hockey, they like embrace it. I don't know how
many games do they get suspended for in basketball if they fight? Isn't it?
Oh, an actual fight, multiple.
Oh yeah, it's like massive.
I mean, assuming you don't go in the stands like Malice in the Palace. That's like a post-season. You start beating up fans, it's a season. But like each other, multiple games.
Yeah. We get 5 minutes.
You get it for like a excessive flagrant foul.
We get 5 minutes in the penalty box, which is a well-needed rest after.
And the whole place cheers and goes nuts, and your team loves you.
It's the biggest thing. Like Dana White says it all the time. He goes, "These guys are athletes, but why? Why are they trying to like not promote fighting?" He goes, "Look at UFC, most popular sport in the world." He goes, because they fight. And hockey's no different. The fans cheer the loudest when the fights, hits, and then goals in that order.
You're right.
So we need more of it.
Well, we was his last name Rempe that came to the Rangers?
Unbelievable.
He was a goddamn hero in New York when he came up there last year.
The Rempire State Building. It's the best nickname in the world. This guy's, what is he, 6'8" or something? 6'7"?
He just beat everyone's ass.
Oh, yeah. And he's just figuring out how to fight, by the way. But they got shirts
and jerseys. And him on skates? How
of him on a building like the gorilla.
That's sick.
It's insane. I mean, that's promotion.
I mean, our man Kami back in the day with the big red fro. I mean, he was a legend.
Yeah, he was.
All the fighters are the ones that are like the most beloved. What's the penalty box like? Because like it's the only thing I can think of in sports where you are like right next to what is half the time opposing fans. Oh yeah, there's got to be some wild shit that goes on.
Those guys who run the penalty box, they all should write books.
Yeah,
for what goes on and what's said. Like now it's a little different because there's cameras everywhere and microphones picking up all that stuff. But I love it. But it was ruthless. You're in there and oh my God, like if you got to have some pretty thick skin to
I got to think that's like, I mean, that's got to be a lot.
Yeah. The league's getting a little softer now. The kids, the chirping, when I used to broadcast between the benches, I'm like, come on. That's lame. Like dig way deeper than that.
Like, this is what you should say.
Yeah, exactly. Here's my notebook. The one I played. Go with this one.
That is so awesome.
Yeah. That's funny. A lot of like the dudes, like when they get out, they're like, oh, the game now it's way softer. And in most cases, it's true. Like look at football, look at basketball. It is. But you think is hockey going that? It's got to be the least though of the sports, right?
Yeah. I mean, it still is what it is. But you do have to protect these guys. I mean, we're seeing what's happening with concussions and all that. And everyone always thinks, oh, it's from the fighting. I'm like, no, it's not from the fighting. If you ever want to see a movie, Kelly Chase was the producer, director. It was The Gladiator. Watch that show. That tells you all you need to know about fighting in the league. It's actually the exact opposite. Like all the concussions happen. First of all, it was the glass. Like you're skating 30 miles an hour into a concrete wall, basically. And the glass that we used to have was the seamless glass for the fans, but it never gave. So it was like concrete. You hit your head against that and you're out. Right? Instantly. And then the equipment we used to wear, is like bulletproof. So you're wearing these big shoulder pads with these sharp, hard plastic elbow pads. You get hit with that, and you're done. So they're changing and evolving all of that, right, to make it, in fact, less protective, so that if you are, and we're going to hit at full speed at center ice, it's going to hurt a little bit, right? Otherwise, you feel invincible.
Sleaze took a run at Ray Whitney one day on the ice.
I almost ended his life. Slowed up at the end, dude. I was like, I don't
Did
need
he
a
go
murder.
between your legs
I don't need to
after?
take a life out here. We're just having a good time. So I slowed up and kind of grazed him from the side. Still moved him, by the way.
We did a little challenge over at the ice dinner where Sleaze had to put on all the gear.
I've never
actually
skated, never done shit in my life, but I took some bets.
No way.
Under the influence.
So he skated around and then had to shoot some pucks. And then the last one was going to be he gets to go blue line to blue line, and Ray has to stand there, and he just runs into him. And Ray watched him skate around one time. He goes, I don't need pads.
Didn't even go put on a helmet. Little fucker didn't even put on a helmet. I took that as an insult.
You're not a
dude.
small guy.
And by the way, when I was going, I didn't go like all the way to the blue. I probably had like 20 yards.
Yeah.
And like in my mind, I was like, I am fucking flying right now. I'm gonna.
You can actually feel the breeze.
Dude, I was like, I'm gonna hurt. Like I didn't know if I wanted to hit him with my shoulder or wrap him, but I was like, I'll figure it out in the moment. And then I saw the video back, and I'm like, I was going 4 miles an hour. It was so sad. I really felt like I was going almost too fast.
It just bounced off Ray.
I fell. Ray didn't fall. His skates did
you have a
move, by the
bucket
way,
on?
so I won. Oh, I had all the stuff on.
We'll show you the video.
You're
Yeah.
invincible
Oh,
in
God.
that stuff, by the way. It's fun.
Yeah, right. It is fun.
Super fun.
It is fun. Yeah.
He really liked the way it smelled.
Oh, the gloves.
Dude. And he gave me this helmet that is like fucking wild,
like blood in it.
a wild wildebeest had taken a shit at, apparently. Like before I was like, this is honestly like I might pass out before I even get to the ice. Like none of the stuff I put on, I'm convinced was washed in the last
Did you have
3
a
weeks.
Did you have
before.
a can on?
What's that?
You have a can on?
No, because we weren't gonna have. They wasn't gonna like. There was only one hit that was taking place. So, but all the other stuff, and I was like, took it off at the end. I was like, dude, I need like to be sterilized.
Yeah. I think it's awesome when people like non-hockey people realize how you
different.
like to get dressed in the equipment, right? Like they don't understand. They're fascinated by it when they see it. They're
Takes
like,
a while.
"Holy cow."
It's different.
Frick, it's
and
like
then
a
you see
lot.
Ray moving around, and he's going half speed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
you get a different. I'm like, dude, this is.
Yeah.
And Ray's like a smaller dude. You get some big guys moving like that. I mean, it's fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When
You
you're
watch
down.
Connor McDavid skate around there. I mean, it looks like, it's a video game.
It's like Superman. He's like an F-16 fighter plane.
There's
Okay?
all
It's
these like young
splits
kids
the whole
coming
team.
out that are.
I'm like, you want us to stop that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm retired now.
Hey, stop that guy. Let me know how that works out.
Yeah, the further you get away too, the more you're like, good. Glad I don't have to. I just get to talk about it.
Oh yeah. Now
Perfect. Everyone sucks.
Shorts are hiking up your boys.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It's all right. You get a little, we got a bulge cam right here that we'll
You gotta
put
put
it
a
right
sock
on.
in the front there.
Yeah,
We're trying to get a few more female fans.
Good Lord, we had to put a little parental advisory on the front of this
It's
one.
cold in here too.
Sweet
Holy jeez.
Tell us a little about your golf game. How are we playing right now?
God, buddy, you know. Actually better. I have no idea why, but I am the worst golfer with the most expensive golf membership on the face of God's earth.
Geyser Ranch, Idaho.
Oh
shout
my
out.
God! Shout out, thank you. But they let anyone play out there apparently.
Melvin will knock $200 off your bill for that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's worth something.
Just free cart fees once in a while. I love it. No one loves golf more than me. I feel like I just love getting out there with the boys, right? Like I don't care how bad I play. I won't hold you up. I'll be fun. And I'll make the odd good shot, but just so inconsistent still. It's the hardest game on the planet, right? I mean, even for an athlete, I can't figure out what side I am. I played left for the longest time. Now I'm back to right. I'm still putting left. I'm just honestly like just a mental mess.
Yeah. We're going to get into your golf back
That's
here in a little bit.
insanity. Both sides, but we'll touch on that.
But you mentioned up at Geyser, I mean, you play with the boys. Gretz is up there, John Elway, Morrow, Ray Whitney.
Yeah.
You get in there and gamble with the boys?
I kind of, that's the 10-10 tea time that Ryan, our owner's involved in. Apparently he's dragged a lot of dough out of that group.
He needs it. Good for him.
Yeah, he's struggling.
Keep the lights
he's
on.
struggling. Yeah, he wants to get to 15 billion instead of 14.
That's why you get all those good swag bags.
Yeah, I know. I don't play with the big boys yet. I don't want to embarrass. I get so nervous. Like on the first tee, I'm like I'm gonna hit one sideways and kill somebody, right? Like golf is like, I don't know. I'm just inconsistent. I should be better. I'm supposed to be an athlete. I'm supposed to have hand-eye coordination. Hockey players are typically good golfers.
Yeah, they
are,
can at least hit it normally. Yeah.
When it's not sideways, I'm decent.
You're
I
decent.
like army golf. left, right.
Look at Holy, Morrow, and Wiz. I mean, they can play.
JR.
Yeah.
I mean, Clayton Keller.
Clayton's
I think
good.
he's pretty decent.
Morrow,
Schmaltz is-
Medano.
Schmaltz. Yeah,
Medano's
Medano
nice.
plays in all those.
Medano should be be hockey player golfer, but he's a fucking
Speaking
lunatic.
of mental midget.
Is he?
Oh, dude, he's the most fragile brained human being. He's been my member partner up here a couple of times, and it's like it takes one shot that's
And
not
he's-
perfect, and he's like checking his swing, doing all that. It just melts down.
You could put him on the range at a tour event, and no one would be like, "That guy's not supposed to be here."
Yeah.
But then you put him on the first tee, and it is like, "Holy shit!" Things just start happening. It's amazing.
Yeah. He's
like,
what an
fix me.
athlete.
I'm like, you just hit a bad shot. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm here, but I want to feel here. And I'm like, dude, this is too much. Just
stop
hit,
thinking.
like, yeah.
It's like hockey. Turn your
wild.
brain off.
The
right?
cup,
good.
the cup bow cup. He explained to me one day.
Oh yeah, cup of the.
Cup here, bow at the top, and then cup on the way down. I'm like, oh my god,
That's what you're thinking
Yeah,
while
that's
you're
what you're
swinging
fucking
the club?
thinking about. Yeah,
There's a lot of stuff going on. He misses putts and just loses his shit. It's
See,
actually really fun to see.
but it's so funny.
Yeah.
to watch. I mean, for us,
But he's so like genuinely talented. Like he could be a plus whatever and win
Good-looking,
all these like so,
total man rocket, like good sized freaking dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And
all the shit,
The
yeah.
best American born player probably
Still
ever.
in great shape.
Probably ever.
one of the
Oh, yeah.
very few guys that looks good bronzed. His bronze
Yeah.
fucking
Even got-
statue outside
yeah.
now. I'm like,
He's
Ronaldo
tanned.
looked like shit
He's-
bronzed.
He's tanned. He's very tanned.
Yeah.
And my mom used to drive me around when I was a kid to go to autograph signings, and it wasn't for me. Yeah, it was not for. It was not for me.
Mom,
Why
we just
did
got it last week.
Yeah.
We're
Why
going
did it
again.
get way more humid in Dallas all of a sudden, Mom?
Damn, fucking unbelievable, Madonna.
My son's a huge fan. Huge fan.
Yeah.
Should we get to like the E13?
Can you make it
we
out to
have?
Lulu?
So
Yeah,
we're
we're
gonna do
gonna
an E9.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
for you, we got a couple extra.
It's gonna be like the E14.
No one
or
loves the
something.
emergency 9 more than me. That's why I really lose money.
Okay.
All right, well, we're gonna mix this up because you're a happily married man, and this could lead perfectly into my next one. But celebrity crush, maybe growing up or now.
Oh, jeez. That's an easy one. Well, for hockey, it was Gretz.
No, a
Not a
female.
man
We're looking for a
crush.
female.
Crazy.
Female.
Oh, maybe it's the same one.
Nicole Kidman.
Could you
Oh, yeah.
possibly
Oh, there we go.
maybe tell us about the first time you met or came upon
Fred.
Nicole Kidman?
Oh, okay. Okay. Where did that come from? You were digging deep.
Did you have more
You were
game?
digging-
Did you have
digging
more
deep.
game in the Memorial Cup, or when you met Nicole Kidman?
Oh my God!
Tell us
Here
about
we
this
go.
little
Here
meetup.
we go. Nicole Kidman. Yeah.
He's blushing.
Boys.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't think it
And no
was
one
possible.
believes me. Here's the beauty of it. No one freaking believes me. And I wouldn't believe me either. I didn't even believe it. So we're going to Vegas. I'm with Medano. I'm with Mike Medano and Daryl Sador and our wives. So our wives are with us. Medano's girlfriend at the time. And we go, what is it, the Palms, the Ghost Bar?
Yeah.
So we're up at the Ghost Bar and we're having some cocktails and we got bottle service at this little thing because I'm with Mike Medano and, and he's a Hall of Famer. And all of a sudden, like this entourage walks in the Ghost Bar and we're kind of standing there off to the side right before you go outside to that glass floor, right?
Yeah.
So I'm standing there and I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God, that's Nicole freaking Kidman. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like getting all nervous. I'm sucking, my 8th drink now, and I'm feeling good. I'm like, all right.
This is my chance.
And she's walking right towards us. I'm like, how cool is this? Like, all of a sudden, freaking, I'm like looking at her and we lock eyes. Like, I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And she walks by and looks at me the whole way. I'm with Mike Medano, like the biggest man rocket in the NHL.
Man rocket.
Doesn't even get a look, not a sniff.
Are you sure she was staring at you and not?
Unless she's bung-eyed. Unless she's totally bung-eyed. I figured she was looking at me.
Okay.
And Medano looks at me and goes, oh my God, she's freaking looking at you. I'm like, I know. I go, I swear she
Why
was.
too?
I swear she was. And I feel like an idiot because my wife's right beside me, right? And I'm like, and I go, oh my God, she was looking at me. She goes, yeah, good one. As if, like, no freaking chance. Like, have another drink, right? So they go and sit down, and Medano goes, you won't go talk to her. And I go, oh my God, I'm the last guy you want to challenge, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go talk to her. So I get my drink and I walk and I start walking over towards them and they're sitting on the couch over there. And literally you got to walk down that path, right? To the bathrooms and to the elevator. And she's off to the side. And I walk and she looks at me again and I'm like, oh my God. I got so nervous. I walked past them because I'm like, I can't walk up. Plus she's got like 8 bodyguards and like, I'm like, they're going to murder me, right? If I even step foot in their circle. So I walk past her and now I'm standing there. I'm like, oh my God. Like, should I go talk to her? What should I do? I'm looking at Medano and they're like, you're a loser. They're like, giving me all the stuff. They get up and they're going to walk out. And now they're going to again walk right past me. So I'm standing off to the side and she walks up and she stops and she turns and she's looking at me and I'm like, I love your work.
I love your work. That's what you went with.
I love your work is what I went with. She literally looked at me and she goes, see you later. And literally walked out.
That was it.
I'm
That
like,
was your
oh
chance.
my God, that was it.
You went with the most generic.
The worst line. I don't even know what it was.
It might have worked better if you said, I hate your work.
Yeah, like something,
that's fucking
anything,
beautiful.
right? Like, but I'm like,
That's a
I
big
don't know.
moment, though.
It was the coolest thing in the world.
That's a big
and
moment.
she is freaking beautiful. Like, but the worst part is like my wife's like, you're an idiot. Her crush is Brady. She knows mine was Nicole Kidman. So she's like, go ahead, talk to her.
At least you went
Come
over
on,
that.
yeah.
You had that moment, which
Oh,
can
yeah.
never be taken.
Oh, yeah. So
I love it. We lost
my
my
kid.
several times. So good.
What a loser.
That's good.
So I'm
All right.
sweating.
I'm going to ask you one because eventually, based on the other questions, I'm going to ask you to know, find out who the source was. So this is the person, but I want you to see if you can name who said this about you when I called asking for some stuff. Okay. Quote, Tyson Nash is the only guy who can smoke a cigarette in the shower and the cigarette won't get wet. Which I'd never heard before. Which is so good.
Who's that from?
Yeah, you know?
Okay, is it local?
He said that he'll name one of 2 names. I'll tell you who it is after this. I'll give you one guess, though.
It's got to be Ray Whitney.
It's not Whit, but that's probably a good one. There was 2 other names that were mentioned.
Well, if it's not Whit, it's got to be Medano.
It's not. Could
No?
be. You want me to give it to you?
Yeah.
Dave Scatchard.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you knew Sketch.
Who's a beauty. I
Oh,
didn't
who's got a
until-
bigger nose than mine, by the way? Holy jeez. Like his last contract, they were like, hey, Dave, you want a nose full of nickels or $1 million? And you know what he took?
That's what he said. He's like, dude, we just bag each other about our noses.
So he made $4 million that year with the nickels.
That's good.
It's good. Okay.
Going back to your golf game, do you think you're the only person in the history of golf to play with a half left-handed set and a half right-handed set?
Yeah. It's embarrassing, right?
The time we played at Westbrook, you literally showed up with half and half, and I'm like,
But how talented is that? I could win a lot of money if I said, hey, I'll play you left-handed.
how do you decide which ones are going to be left and which one are going to be right?
You know who it was? Pat Perez. Pat was my neighbor in Greyhawk for a long time, and we'd always go out golfing. And his coach or his caddy, or I can't remember who he was, but obviously a smart hockey dude or a golf guy. And he was like, dude, you cannot be this bad right-handed. Like, you're an athlete. You have to be left-handed. Swing it left-handed. Which way do you bat? I'm like, left. He goes, which way do you play hockey? Left. He goes, then you're left. Like, you're left. He goes, just do it. And I did it. He goes, you're left-handed. So the next day, got to be the clubs. Got rid of all the clubs. Got all lefties. And then gradually moved my way back to right. And now I'm all right.
Oh, you're all right now?
All right instead of my
The putting left.
That makes it easier, I feel like.
Yeah, and when I get nervous, like in tournaments, I go right down to the left, and I do so I take the yips out of it, right? Like a hockey stick, I just. Zzz.
I love that.
Someone
so
does
much.
that on
How's
the big
that
break.
work?
I saw that on the big break. Some guy did it.
Wow,
I was
big
like,
break. You are a golf fan.
Yeah, you are.
By the way, as you say at Medano,
Yeah,
didn't Medano shoot left-handed and he plays golf right-handed?
I know. But
Maybe
Gretz,
he should play left-handed.
But Gretz plays left-handed, right?
Golf?
Yeah,
I thought he played right.
no, he's a lefty. Lefty hockey, lefty golf.
Yeah, it feels like that would
looking-
make
I'm gonna
sense.
look
If you're
into
hitting
this.
slap shots one way, like that's the closest thing to hitting a golf ball. I feel like you'd do the same one.
And it did. It felt like way more natural left-handed over the ball. It just
But also, Wayne Gretzky's Wayne Gretzky. No offense, you aren't Wayne Gretzky. Doesn't mean you have to do what he does.
valid point.
Yeah.
Valid point. See, that was my problem as a kid. I tried to play like it my whole life. Didn't work out so well.
Okay, I'll give you one here. Bonus ball. Describe your living conditions while playing for the Syracuse Crush, and if you had any illegal pets.
Scatchard.
Yeah,
Dave
we got some
freaking
good.
Scatchard.
By the way, you got very
Oh
willing
my God.
friends.
So we lived in this house. This thing was the biggest dump you've ever seen. We lived on campus like we thought we were college kids, right? And we were so cheap. And I had to be cheap because I made no money. But like to keep the heat in, we'd saran wrap the windows. Remember how they used to do that back in the day? Like to
Oh my
keep all the
God.
heat in? Oh, yeah. And we had this squirrel, and it was like a little squirrel at the start of the year up in our attic. And by the end of the year, I'd go up there and feed it, like literally. And by the end of the year, we got the thing all the way down into the apartment where we trained it, and it would eat the food, like peanuts all the way down the stairs. And then one time I brought the booster clubbers give me a birthday cake. So I brought it up there. And by the end of it wasn't like on the floor anymore. It was like, boom, boom. This freaking squirrel was the fattest thing you've ever freaking seen in your life. So that was
Raised a squirrel.
Yeah, that was our pet.
He told me that y'all saran wrapped the windows, and in the winter it was so cold there. It's like we had to turn on the oven and open it, and that was the way we heated the place.
And it was so cold, you couldn't go to the bathroom in the night, right? Because you'd freeze. It was all like tile. Yeah. So the tile is freezing. So I just take a big bottle, and I just lean over and just like fill it up and pee in the bottle,
Hockey
right?
players
Pro
are different.
hockey, dude.
They're
Pro
different.
But we had these heaters. So Dave had this heater that he'd blow on him all night, right? So I took my bottle over there one night when he was passed out. And I put my pee bottle right in front of his heater that blew on him all night long. And he woke up and he's like, "Oh my God, what does that smell?" I'm like, I don't know who did that, Dave.
That's damn squirrel, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
beautiful.
good. It's good.
Well, after your NHL career ended up, you actually went over to Japan for a little bit. Nippon, is that what
Nippon paper cranes.
Okay, so more intimidating mascot, the El Paso Chihuahuas or the Nippon paper cranes?
That's a good name,
Yeah.
dude. The paper
Oh, yeah.
cranes.
God.
Is that like an
Nippon.
origami thing?
Yeah, I don't know what it was, to be
Gotta
honest.
be.
They were like, it was crazy. It was a U.S. company, too, out of Seattle.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like, it was, and like the funny part is that we were hockey players and the hockey team, but we would go to all the company functions and parties and like hang out with the businessmen and stuff. Like, it was so bizarre. It was honestly one of the coolest experiences of my life, though. And the culture and the people and just all of it. I was absolutely blown away. Just very, very kind people.
I went to Tokyo for the first time just a few months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, awesome. And everywhere they leave you those little paper cranes and
yeah.
origami stuff.
Roppongi?
But, yeah.
They dragged you out of Roppongi?
Yeah, Roppongi. I've heard about that place. But seriously, how about the food over there?
Insane.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's the sushi and the beef is just absurd.
Yeah. If you have sushi here and then you go there and you're like it's, I mean, and some of the other stuff we had too, like we ate like cow intestine is a huge delicacy over there, like that you cook yourself. Like not a fan. They put the hot plate right in front of you and it's a big pile of intestine. I'm like,
Intestine.
oh. And they're just like, wow. Like sucking it up, and monkey brain we had. And
Oh, God, no.
in China one night. It was interesting.
We went to one of those little places where you cook it in front of you, and they brought out 4 different types of Wagyu, and it was like the greatest thing ever. Just the thin slice. And just,
and reasonable. Like everything's like, maybe not Tokyo so much, but
No, it was.
Yeah.
We had a bottle of sake, and there's 4 different types of Wagyu, a couple apps. Thought it was going to be it was $120 American.
yeah.
That's
That
nice.
place is
And everything's
great.
clean.
And you don't
over there.
Yeah.
And you don't tip.
Yeah. But
The
then
streets are clean.
did you go and have the sumo wrestlers soup though?
No. I saw some sumo wrestlers though.
Oh my God. Like we would go to like a couple of those events and these guys, they get fat on purpose, right? Like, and we go to this restaurant and all the sumos eat there, right? So you come in there, you eat this bowl and it's like a big lard of fat in this thing. It's the best thing you've ever tasted in your life. But it, like the way they cook it, I guess, and all of it, like it's like 8,000 calories in that bowl of soup.
It's just fat soup.
And they have 3 of them.
Oh yeah. Like by the end of the year, I was like skinny fat.
I mean, you can't get like that just being a normal, like how big you gotta try to get there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Those guys are massive human beings. But athletes, like you want to talk about athletes, those guys are scary human beings.
Why don't you just find one of the biggest sumos and throw them in net? Throw them in goal.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
When they
Makes sense,
cover
right?
the whole
And
shit.
they're
Why
athletes.
hasn't any team tried that? Just find the biggest, fattest man in the world and plop him right
They're
there.
flexible.
They do it in cartoons all the time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's
Should
maybe you're
work.
onto something. Maybe
Shit.
you're onto something.
Sign me
man.
up.
You could be a hockey
Tell
GM.
Ryan I might
and
need
then
to get
you
on
throw
the payroll.
pads on them too,
And
right?
then triple wide.
Imagine those. You
I
know,
mean, dude, unless they could squeeze it right here,
Right.
Then
Yeah.
it's
It ain't
good.
happening.
Stop. They
Yeah.
don't have to be good. I want to know about this. What happened to your car that you drove in Syracuse?
My car?
Was it yours?
No, it was.
Was it
It was
Sketch?
Dave Scatchard's.
Okay, it was Sketch.
Dave
Tell the
Scatchard's
story about the car.
So he buys this car. I couldn't afford a car, so he buys this car, And he's driving it around, and we're driving it around, and we're in Olive Garden. I'll never forget it. We ate at Olive Garden every pregame meal because you get the free salad, you get the free breadsticks, right? So his phone rings, and literally he's like, I got to catch a flight. So he catches a flight, like he like takes a taxi and rips out there, and he leaves his car in the Olive Garden parking lot for the entire season. And forever.
Never came back and got it.
Never came back for it. And he didn't give it to me. Yeah. He didn't like nothing. I'm like, can I at least have it? And honestly, it was like the most insane thing ever. We still have no idea where that car is.
Yeah, that's what he said. Asked him if he actually knows where it went. Oh, he got called up, right? And it was like, hey, we need you tonight. So he was just out of there, of course.
Gone.
Left his shit.
Took the keys with him.
Never.
And left.
Somebody jacked it, probably.
I got a ride home from one of our other teammates, and that was the end of it. It was so funny because every time we drive by there or go there, we'd see his car. And then all of a sudden, like a month later, it was gone. And we never saw it again.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's good. I mentioned we had Biz on the show, and he actually introduced us to the term Bambied. When you get punched on the ice and you look like Bambi trying to walk around. Who Bambied you?
Oh, who didn't Bambi me?
But who got you the best?
Oh, man. Probably, and he never knocked me out, thank goodness, because it would have been really embarrassing. But, I mean, I got knocked out probably 3 or 4 times in my NHL career, on top of my minor league career, on top of my junior career. That's what people don't understand, right? Is that I think I had 27 fights in the National Hockey League, but I had 10, 15 fights a year in every other league on the way up, right? So you win some and you lose some. So we fought, I'll never forget, we were playing Chicago, and I absolutely hammer Bob Probert, like hammer him. And I separated his shoulder, and we ended up kind of fighting that night a little bit. I was so pissed off, though, because I never got a 5-minute major with Bob Probert. Like, how cool would that have been, right? One of the toughest guys to ever play the game and to have a fight with him. I kind of humped his leg, and I was like, God, I turtled, and I friggin', I was like, oh my God, don't hit me, Mr. Probert. But I heard him. He left the game, and we ended up blowing Chicago out that game. There's 40 seconds left in the game, and my freaking coach, and I've been running around all night, running my mouth. This guy, Steve Thomas, jumps over the boards, and he's old. He's at the end of his career, and he's a littler guy, and I don't know the history on him that well. And he goes, we're going to go on the face-off. He goes, we're going. Whether you like it or not, we're going. I said, absolutely. I go, I've always wanted to beat up my dad. I'm like, how frickin' old are you, old man? I'm like, I cannot wait. Do I get a senior's discount or what? And the puck dropped. We drop our gloves. We square off. He hit me with about 10 lefts before I even knew it was happening. My nose was on the side of my face. My eye was swelled shut. And I am like, I am in one. I got knocked down. I got back up. And I don't even think I threw a punch. And this is in St. Louis, my hometown, like where I play, right? And it's sold out. End of the game. I literally skated to the locker room after. I was so embarrassed because I just got beat up by a shrimp. Like the guy was just
an old shrimp too.
Old raisin, right? And we laugh about it now to this day. Like I see him in the press box at games and stuff. He's like, he's like, hey son, how are you?
Oh, he's got to seek. He has to go seek you out anytime he's in the building.
Oh yeah, but the good part about it was Jamal Mayers, who was my teammate. He goes, dude, I grew up watching that guy in Toronto. Like his nickname is Thumpy for a reason. Yeah. Like, how do you not know that? Like, just ask me. And I'm like, well, I didn't know I was gonna have to fight him. You know, like, but. That's a lesson for everybody. Do your homework.
Kami told a good one about how this guy squared off against him, and he was a little guy as well. And he's like, it was like national television. It was like Calgary, Toronto. He's like, God, this guy said, you want to go? And he's like, do I ever? Like, I'm about to embarrass you on national television. Well, come to find out the guy was like a Golden Gloves boxer and hit Kami like 7 times, and he had no idea where it came from.
Knocked that friggin' big afro off his head, eh? Yeah, it can happen. I mean, I don't care who you are, how tough you are. There's always someone.
Did you see the guy do the Superman punch in like the AHL?
Yeah, Kevin BX did that.
Was so
what
sick.
the hell's the Superman punch?
You know, like Superman punch in UFC, like where you jump,
where you jump, like
Well, he did it on ice and was just skating at the guy and just jumped and boom and caught him.
Yeah.
Caught him
and buckled him.
Yeah,
like,
dirt nap,
game over.
Dirt nap, ice nap, wet
one
nap.
hitter.
Yeah,
this doesn't count as a question, but if someone comes up like that and says, "Hey, I want to fight," like, you can't say no, right?
Hell, you can.
Like, what if some massive dude came up and was like, Nash, I need one? Where are you going to be like, no, dude, I don't, no. There's 40 seconds left.
That was the beauty for me because I was a smaller guy. I didn't have to fight those guys, right? But there's nothing worse than being a Mike Commodore, and he's huge. And he's like, I can't say no.
Yeah.
Like, someone asked me to fight, I kind of have to, right? And he's not skilled enough to, to say no either, right?
Call me, you said you're shit.
Yeah, yeah. So I said no plenty, but I would have had to fight 3 times a game if I didn't, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah. I'll ask you one that's kind of similar to the one Colt just asked, but like we know about Biz, get jumped by a bunch of dorks outside Houston. He's a tough one to run into. Like these guys obviously don't know shit about hockey or anything.
Imagine
Like, he's not the one. He's not the right one.
Yeah.
But if there was a worst guy ever that they could have run into, NHL guy, getting jumped by a pack of losers, who would it be?
Well, first of all, that's like The Price is Right. You picked the wrong door on that one.
Yeah, it was a
Bissonnette,
bad,
right?
yeah.
Like, of all the guys, and he dropped a couple of them. He said,
Yeah.
But there's so many. First of all, there's a few different ones. Kelly Chase is probably pound for pound one of the toughest guys to ever play. And if you ever saw him at a bar or restaurant, you'd be like, let's freaking go.
And shout out to Kelly Chase, who's going through some shit right now. Thinking about you, my man.
Yes, acute leukemia. He's getting the bone marrow transplant with his brother.
He's a stud,
I think
though.
as we speak. Yeah, so he's a stud. Tough as they come in a real big fight right now. But Kelly Chase, but Tony Twist would be the guy. He was one of the toughest guys, probably top 3 to ever play in the game. The problem is if you saw him off the ice, he looks that tough. Like his knuckles hang down to the ground, and when you look at his hands, they're literally like that's one hand.
Yeah.
And his knuckles are all sideways, and so you wouldn't even if you saw him, you'd be like, no, I'm. It's like the guys with cauliflower ears. You see, you're like,
just avoid
I'm
him.
going to sit this one out, boys. You guys go ahead. But another guy I played with, his name's Troy Crowder, and we were talking about this yesterday with our buddy Johnny. This guy looks like an accountant. He's 6'5", but look him up, Troy Crowder. And this guy is a pretty boy, and you would think you were going to mop the ground, especially if you saw him in a restaurant and he was sitting down. And people have made this mistake before. He's from Sudbury, Ontario, which is a tough town in Canada. And he literally would cave your face in, and he did it to a lot of people, but you would not think twice if he challenged you off the ice.
There's a bunch of those dudes. I mean, I look at just Kami, and I know he's tough as shit, but he's not in the top 3 or whatever. I'm like, dude, what would happen?
I don't mess with
Like
anyone
to an
anymore.
average human being. Like he is like just you can hit him as hard as you want, I think, in the face, and like it's not going anywhere.
No. I don't mess with anyone anymore. Literally. It's
smart.
not, first of all, it's not worth it. Second of all, again, always someone tougher, and you just don't know. Like some of the toughest guys I ever grew up with are skinny, scrawny guys, just wiry, right? That can take a punch, and that's scary.
I remember the first time I met Chaser up at Gazer. So we were going around, he's playing golf with us, and I talk shit to everybody. It's on the golf course, so I can talk shit. He started calling me Stumpy all week, and then we were at the tree bar one night, and I popped off, and he gave me just a jab to the chest. Holy fuck, I thought I was going to have a heart attack.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I will never talk shit to this man again.
Yeah.
I was like,
sorry,
that
sir.
fucking fist. Whoa.
It's unbelievable.
Boy, that hurt a little bit.
So that's also that's how I made the National Hockey League, right?
That was going to be my next story, your training camp
Yeah.
debut in St. Louis.
Yeah. Do we have time for it?
Fuck
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So my dad, I'm riding around in the minors for the last 4 years, right? I'm now 24 years old, and I become unrestricted free agent with the Vancouver Canucks. So they let me go. July 1 hits, and I get a phone call from Larry Plow, the general manager of the St. Louis Blues. And I'm like, holy cow. This guy's like, we don't care who you are. You're not drafted. You're not one of ours. If you walk on and you show you can play with us, you're going to play. Bob Plager, God rest his soul, he was the guy who found me. And he's the one who was behind all the strings, getting me signed. So I come to training camp, and before I leave, my dad drops me off at the airport, and he goes, okay, this is it. This is it, son. Like, you're 24. Like, whatever you do, just don't say woulda, coulda, shoulda after this training camp. Not even after the first ice session. Don't say and cry and call me and be like, I should have done this. No, just do it. Do yourself a favor. You've worked too hard. Just lay it all on the line. So the first time we're on the ice, I'm like, all right, no one knows me from Adam, right? Put the jersey on. I got this white jersey, St. Louis Blues logo. I'm like, this is so freaking cool. This is so badass. So we get out on the ice and we just get right into a scrimmage, right? So we're playing the blue team. So they drop the puck. I'm starting shift. Goes back, they get the puck. One of their guys gets the puck flying down the left side, cuts across the blue line, and I'm back checking, and I'm like, oh my God, This guy just cut right across the blue line. His head's down. So I hit him as hard as I've ever hit anyone in my entire life. This guy flies up in the air. His bucket flies off. He's sideways. He hits the ice. He's out. Unconscious.
He was a stud, right?
Unconscious.
Unconscious?
Out. Cold. Separated shoulder. And I'm looking down and I'm like, oh my God, that's Pavel frickin' Demitra, the leading scorer for the actual St. Louis Blues. He was actually on the
He's their
team,
guy.
not on a tryout. He was their guy, their all-star, their leading scorer, out cold. And I'm like, oh my God, Dad, that is friggin' real bad advice.
Yeah, they're gonna remember
I
that.
think they know who I am
Did
now.
you think at that point I just made the Blues or I'm off the Blues?
I'm
Because it could be
I'm
either,
done.
right?
So dead quiet in the building, right? Like you can hear a mouse fart. No one's, and they're scraping this guy off the ice with a shovel and a stretcher, and they take him off. So I go and I try to make a line change. And Bob Plager, who was the guy that brought me in there, is my coach, right? Because all the big coaches are up in the stands watching. So he's my coach, and I go to make a line change. He goes, ha! And he points and he goes, get back out on the ice. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So I get on the ice, and all I can hear is, you're a fucking dead man, Nash. You're a freaking dead man. I'm going to kill you. I look over, it's Kelly Chase on the other bench, and I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm like, okay, let's get this over with. So he helps over the bench and lines up next to me and just whacks me on the thing. The puck didn't even drop. Like the ref came out, didn't even drop the puck, and we just back off, drop our helmets, take our gloves off. And again, much like the Steve Thomas story, he hit me with about 10 lefts and a right. I got a couple in. He knocked me down. He pulled me back up, and he just teed off on me. My nose is bleeding. I'm cut over my eye. My now white jersey is covered in blood. So I, fight ends up, whatever, a crowd, stick taps all over. And there's no 5 minutes in the box. Yeah. It's pick your own gloves up. So I had to pick my own gloves up and my stick. And again, I skate back to the bench and I go to make a line change. And Bob Plager is like, back out on the ice. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Everyone in the building, all the coaches in the stands are like, who is this freaking guy? Like, is he that stupid? Or like, so Chaser sees me. Chaser's putting his gear on. He's on the bench. He's like, that little shit's back out on the ice again. So he hops over the boards and comes back out. And he's like, are you freaking kidding me? So the puck comes back into the corner. Al McInnes, their leading defenseman, grabs the puck and gets it. And I'm like, screw this. I'm really going to freaking make a mark here now. I hammer Al McInnes, knock him over like they're top defensemen. Puck comes around, comes to Chaser, and I skate, and I'm gonna run him over. Well, he pretends he doesn't see me, and I'm coming. All of a sudden, just before I get there, he comes up and he goes, boom, stick right across the mouth. Oh. My bottom whole row of teeth, they fold back into my mouth, right? Couple get spit out onto the ice, and I'm now laying on the ice. I'm like, oh my God, just get up. And I got up and I went to the bench. And that was it for that game. I ended up having like 8 more fights in training camp that year. But that's how I ended up, thanks to Kelly Chase for making the team.
God damn, you're going to die before the camp ends.
Yeah.
At least you made it. That would have been terrible. And then they cut me.
Well, I actually didn't make it right away, but I made it later on in the year. I was their first call up. So, yeah.
Oh, so after all that, they're like, sorry, we don't. And you're like, dude, my face is busted. My teeth are gone.
I need a break anyway. I could barely put my hands in my gloves because they were like so like beat up from like helmets and like.
Everyone thought Rudy was tough.
Well, I was literally Rudy in that moment. Just, God. I didn't have a great career, and I wasn't tough.
It's different.
I showed up. Chase, I showed up when it mattered.
You should watch Gladiator though. I watched it on a plane one day. It's good.
I will watch that now that I know what's going on.
I remember
best hockey movie, Youngblood. 1000%. If you haven't seen that, you have to watch it. Mm-hmm. But Gladiator, and watch the Bob Probert documentary. It's freaking. Is that? I don't think I said
documentary.
That right. Documentary. That's a big word. That's a big word.
Canadians say things different.
That's a lot of syllables.
A lot of syllables. Can I ask you one last one? It can be. It's just too good.
Real quick. No, this is just too much fun. I remember at Gretzky's Pro-Am, he used to have a Corn Ferry event up in Toronto, and he brought up Marty McSorley. And I got to hear stories from Marty, who was basically Gretz's like protector on the ice.
Yeah.
You touched Gretz, you dealt with Marty.
Yeah.
And he would kill you.
Yeah. Everywhere Gretz went, he brought Marty.
Yeah.
And like, that's why everyone's like, well, is there a purpose for fighting? Like, this is ridiculous. And if you ask all the best players in the world, ask Connor McDavid, ask Brett Hull. Brett Hull's like, I could not have done Brett Hull things without Kelly Chase and Tony Twist. Like I could do whatever I wanted. I never was scared at any moment with those guys on the ice because they kept everyone calm.
Just
You
little
thought you were
bodyguards.
tough. You thought you were tough. You came into St. Louis. You weren't so tough anymore. And you were shitting your pants.
You got one left?
I got one left. Yeah.
All right, I got one
You want
fun
it?
one. No, go ahead.
All right, here we go. Think back to your Syracuse days here, right? Living in the spot. Explain how you always had a TV in your house, but never actually paid for a TV. This is beautiful. This is
Dave
beautiful, by the way.
Scatcherd. Oh my God.
You had one,
Scotch
yeah,
is-
you had one source.
I got Darcy too. Darcy
Hardy?
helped out.
Yeah. Again, so we had this TV. We bought it from the Wiz. It was like the Best Buy back then in the day. And I think again, he bought it. He actually ended up finally leaving it for me. But so we had this TV and it was like all in one VHS
Yeah.
TV.
You put the tape in
Oh
it.
yeah, like unbelievable, right? And we were so excited because I'd never had a VHS player in my house growing up or anything, right? We had our own. So we were like watching movies and all that stuff. Then he ends up getting called up and I still had the TV and I knew, and I always saw the receipt because he had it on his whatever, beside his bed or whatever, right? So when he left, I was like, oh, huh. I'm like, weird. Anyway, so my girlfriend at the time comes to visit me and get a movie. We rent a movie. I'm like, this is unbelievable. We got a fireplace there. I'm like, this is awesome. Lance Romance, right? I'm like, I don't know what movie I had planned, but it was a panty dropper, right? So I'm like, this is good stuff. So light a fire, fire's going, movie's going, and I'm trying to, get a little something, right? Making out a little bit. All of a sudden it's like really dark and I can barely see the TV and I'm like, what's going on? Like I'm coughing. Like I'm like, what the heck? So I turn the lights on. I look over at her and her eyes are black and she smiles and her teeth are all black. Well, there was a bird's nest in the fire in the what do they call it? The
fan?
In the fire pit.
Fireplace.
In the fireplace.
Yeah.
There was a bird's nest at the top, so none of the smoke was getting out. It was all coming back into the house. So we're both blowing our noses in the bathroom and looking at each other. We're all black. You can just see the whites of our eyes. And I'm like, oh my God, this turned out really, really well. Eh? Like, of course,
such a romantic.
never got action.
Yeah.
But the TV, at the end of the year, I took the TV back to the Wiz and I got like $250 or whatever it was back then for this stupid TV, and I'm like, serve scotch, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so good.
Yeah, he told me, he's like, we'd trade off. He's like, I'd go buy one, and it's like a 30-day refund policy, right? And on day 29, to bring it back, hey, it's just not really what I'm looking for. Then you'd go buy one. 29 days later, new sales guy be like, it's just not really what I'm looking for. Just keep the shit coming every time.
Hopefully they didn't see the paper trail, but
little criminal masterminds.
Were we tight? We still laugh about it to this day.
That's so good.
Like that's the best
Dude, these
part
Syracuse
of it.
days are unreal.
Right? I'm sure you guys all have the stories. Not when you're in the pros. I mean, that's nice when you're flying around on these private planes and that, but it's the grind on the way up, right? It's all the little.
These are like the mini
stuff.
tour stories.
Yeah.
You used to buy and take back TVs. Now you're buying expensive items in charity events. Do you want to talk about your latest purchase at a charity event?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Who are you talking to? That must be my wife. I think she's the only one that freaking knows.
Could have gone to Napa.
Oh,
Tyson,
my
I'm just
God.
saying.
Oh, yeah.
Could have
Yeah,
gone to
so
Napa.
FaceTimes.
We're at so I'm a softie, right? I'm cancer. I mean, Chaser's going through it. These kids and this little kid gets up there and starts telling this story and like, just going through chemotherapy and you're just like, your heart's melting, right? All of a sudden the silent auction opens up and I got a paddle somehow and I'm just like, I got to do something. So I'm turning 50.
Yeah.
Credit to myself, right? I'm turning 50, but Napa goes up. I don't even think I bid on Napa, actually.
I don't think you did either.
Yeah, I don't think I did either. My wife filled me in on that. She's like, we could have went to freaking Napa. So Napa comes and goes, and I was too cheap for that. And then this African safari hunting trip comes up, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, let's get the bidding started, right? So I throw my paddle up, and freaking not one person bid. And it was cold as balls outside, and we were outside at True North, so it was flipping cold out there. So people were kind of like making their way out the door, right? And obviously not a lot of hunters there, but I've like hardly ever shot a gun in my entire life, but yet I'm going to Africa on a hunting
I was told never been hunting, and you're just going to start out right there.
That's where you start.
What am I going to shoot? I'm like, this is insane. But I told a couple of my buddies, and they're like, I'm in. That sounds like the coolest thing friggin' ever.
Here's the deal. Instead of your first time swimming, we're going to let you jump off the diving board. We're just going to go straight to the high dive.
We're shooting a gorilla or a lion or a zebra.
That's incredible.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Tyson, this has been awesome. Make sure you go check him out on the Nash Cast.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, Nash Cast. Yes.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's fun. It's kind of like the Peyton Manning Cast / Pat McAfee show. Do a lot of the same stuff, like just talking to guys, telling stories.
You ever get confused for McAfee?
I have. It's
Did you go with
You
it?
ever get confused for a toucan?
Yeah, toucan Sam, definitely that. Okay, one quick one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sitting there last season. We're in Colorado, and Kurt Warner's in the lobby. We're staying at the Four Seasons Thursday night. They're doing Thursday night football there. I found out. So Kurt Warner's in there. I'm like, hey, Kurt, what's up? I'm talking to him. I'm all dressed up in a suit. Like feeling I'm looking good. We're getting to go to the Arizona Coyote game that night because we're playing in Denver, right? So all of a sudden I get a tap on the shoulder and I turn around and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, hey, she goes, Pat. And I'm like, Skylene. I'm like, how are you? I'm like, so good to see you. I'm like, what are you guys all doing here? So it's Sean Payton's wife.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, Skylene, I go, how are you? And she goes, good. I go, hey, I want you to meet my mom. She goes, Mom, this is Pat McAfee. And I go, Skylene, it's Tyson Nash. Oh my God. Like, I know you from Gaza. I see you every day at the gym. I see you every day on the golf course. And she's like, oh my God.
Never mind, Mom. You don't need to meet him.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, she's like, yeah, Mom, you're good. Don't worry about it. He's just a nobody.
My God.
But yeah, so
Beautiful.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
I
good.
should have my sleeves cut off.
I know.
Nash, you're a champion.
Yeah.
Dude,
That was fun.
You're
Thanks,
a
guys.
champion.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you. Shout
guys-
out Nicole Kidman too. Maybe get her on the get her on the
Eye
show.
contact.
You know what I mean? You can run that back.
Awesome.
Thanks, brother.
All right, that was Tyson Nash joining us on Subpar. Can we just get more hockey guys in the building? They are hilarious. I cannot believe he just totally, absolutely just stumbled all over himself when he had his chance with Nicole Kidman.
I know. Might not be too late. She has aged about 2 days from whenever that happened. She's one of those going in reverse type right now. But dude,
I haven't seen this new movie she's in, but
she's
I heard
in everything.
You'll never look at her or Milk
By the
the
way.
same.
You'll never look at what?
Her or Milk the same.
Oh, okay.
Apparently there's some scene. I don't know.
That's enough for me to watch. I don't even know what the movie or show is, but I'm in.
I love your work. Tyson, though,
How
he
did
is
that not
great.
work?
I mean, we need him and Kami in here together. I love him, Kami, and Biz. Good Lord. What's the worst that could happen?
I called a couple of his buddies to get some scoop for it. And normally it's like, sometimes with the golfers, it's like, he's really messy. I'm like, okay, maybe something a little more than that. I call these two, they get on speakerphone, they're at the airport. But 42 minutes later, I was like, okay, boys, I think I got enough. And by the way, only 10% of what you told me is usable. But dude, that Buffalo house supposedly was crazy. Someone got a new car, by the way.
Yeah.
Out of the whole deal.
How about his golf setup? Half left-handed, half right-handed clubs.
Yeah, I can't quite crack that
kind of
code.
like SMU invented NIL. Maybe Tyson's just, he's changing the game right now. We might see some players show
Just
up like
ahead
this.
of the game. And he can smoke a cigarette in a shower without it getting wet.
God, that is brutal.
That's such a good line.
That is brutal. But
Big beak.
love that guy. He is awesome on TV. And by the way, Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah.
I need that hoodie he's got.
Get it. Make it the Yetis soon.
Yes.
I'll adopt them
By
as
the way,
my hockey team.
He's right. Genius idea. Start out with one name, change to the other, then you got to go buy new shit.
Double merch. Keep changing it every few years. Smart.
All right. Well, some sad news, Sleaze.
Yeah.
There's currently, actually, when this comes out, there'll only be 3 football games left this season.
And
But we're
no
gonna get-
more by the time this comes out.
Yeah,
College football.
We're gonna go with 4. We got the NFC and AFC championship, the Super Bowl, and when this comes out, will be the day after the college football national championship. Ohio State 8.5-point favorites over your dad's Notre Dame Fighting Irish in Atlanta. How we feeling?
Well, I texted my dad this morning, the biggest diehard Notre Dame fan on the planet. I said, how are you getting ready? What are you doing to prepare for tonight's game? And he said, copious amounts of drugs and alcohol.
Hell yeah, Steve.
Yeah, it runs in the family.
Win or lose,
That's
we
a
still booze.
That's a true fan. So you ask me, I'm going with my heart here a little bit, but I also think 8.5 points is a lot. But I'll take Notre Dame. I mean, Will Howard's shown he can be not the greatest. They've gone from getting just their dicks dragged through the dirt, the media just killing them, hating them. Ryan Day is going to get fired. The sky is falling. To now they're the greatest team ever assembled. So it's happened quickly. They're the favorites, a little more pressure, but you got to go with the Irish. And Marcus Freeman's just a 10 out of 10 in terms of guys that you could have representing your university.
He's my favorite person involved in this game tonight. I don't really like either team, so I just hope it's a good, entertaining game. I don't really give a shit who wins. Gambling-wise, I think Ohio State is rolling right now. They definitely got the better offense. So if I had to bet, I would probably take them -8.5.
Yeah, I just want to. I hope this comes down to fourth quarter, like some of the games we got in the NFL this past week, and the semifinal games too.
The NFL games have been awesome.
Yep.
But best of luck to the Irish and the Buckeyes tonight. AFC, NFC championships are set. AFC, we got the Bills and the Chiefs, which is going to be incredible. From Arrowhead, it's the night game on Sunday. Chiefs currently 2.5-point favorites.
Yeah, I mean, when we did our bold predictions at the beginning of the year, I had Chiefs Eagles as a Super Bowl. They both remain. So I guess until someone proves they could beat Kansas City, especially at Arrowhead, I'm going to just keep going with them. And by the way, the refs, if you touch Patrick Mahomes, they're going 15 more yards down the field. That's getting a little bit out of hand, but I'm going to stay with the Chiefs. Like, someone's got to dethrone them before, even with the 2.
All right, well, I'm going with my man Josh Allen and the Bills.
You had them in the. You had Bills, right?
I had Bills, Lions.
All right, one remains.
Tough one against the Commanders. They had practice squad players playing on defense, which was tough, and Jaden Daniels torched them. But staying with the Bills, love Josh Allen. Big fan of his. Like I said, also, I picked him from the start. They already beat Kansas City this year. I know it was in Buffalo. But I think if ever the year someone's going to get by the Chiefs, this is it. So give me the Bills. And on the other side, I mean, this is a fucking nightmare for me. Being a Cowboys
where
fan,
do you go on this?
Got Eagles, Commanders, Philly, Washington in the NFC Championship. This, by the way, everyone at the start of the year, NFC least and all this, how the NFC sucks. Look who's left.
Couple of them.
Shout out Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury, who I like both those guys. They have done a hell of a job there in Washington in their first year. It's been cool to see. They're catching 5.5 points. They've been rolling. They beat Philly. The last time they played, Jaden Daniels threw 5 touchdowns. I hate Philly. There's no chance I can pick them. Give me Washington and 5.5.
Hadn't heard that before. You're not a big Philly guy?
No, not a big fan.
Man, interesting.
I might have to broadcast the tournament from Philly Cricket Club remote.
Yeah, they're gonna love you out there. I had them going to the Super Bowl early. I'm gonna keep them going to the Super Bowl. Although what Washington did to the Lions, I was shocked by. I knew they're dinged up on defense, of course, but they just ran up and down. Jaden Daniels is a joke for a rookie. But Eagles grind it out. Eagles, Chiefs, Super Bowl, sticking with it.
Oh, God, that's gross. Anyways.
It's tough for me, too. The Chiefs
Buffalo,
just keep winning.
Washington, that'd just be a weird matchup. It'd be awesome to see Jaden Daniels, though, in his rookie year, lead a team to the Super Bowl. It's going to be a lot of fun. But like I said, only 4 football games left.
It's going by so fast. Time. College football ending is just a brutal kick to the groinal region. I'm going to miss it. But the golf's starting up, and then it'll be major season before we know it.
My vacation's over. I'm heading out to San Diego right now for the Farmers Insurance Open. Back to work, Sleaze.
You going to go hang glide again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're going to
put the GoPro on your dome? Yeah. Good. Yeah. Finally.
Might as well.
Looking forward
maybe
to that.
Do something stupid.
Bird cam.
No, we don't talk. No birds,
like
no eagles,
worm
no
cam,
nothing.
but the opposite.
All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. Thanks, Tyson Nash, for joining us. We'll talk to you on next week's Subpar.